Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Survival release. As you can see, we have the first of the two Gigantic Thrashers. This is the Gorgosaurus, and this is one that many people were looking forward to until it was revealed, and then, I don't know how most people feel about it, but I know my opinions changed. It's definitely nowhere near what I was hoping for when it comes to a Mattel Gorgosaurus, but it looks interesting, definitely very much so in line with the survival line and the mutated versions that we've been seeing with these newest figures. You can see, of course, we've got the species name and then the Jurassic World Survival logo. You got the Rex up here kind of creeping in from the side. And then if we turn it around and take a look here at the back, you can, of course, see the Gorgosaurus right there, and then the Stegosaurus, which is the other figure in this line. So let's go ahead, pop the box open, and check it out. So here is our very interesting take on a Gorgosaurus with the loosest tail ever. And honestly, it's not as nice even as I was expecting. Like, I didn't expect much because I hate this tail thing they have going on, but even the detail just seems not nearly as nice as what I'm used to when it comes to Mattel. Like, you can see it looks pretty okay, like in the face, but it's just like Mattel usually has super impressive fine detail in the face. And although there is a good bit of variation to the style of scales and stuff that we see, we also have a lot of like osteoderms and stuff here in the face. It just doesn't look all that great. And it's depressing because, like, you know, how often do we get theropods with lips from Mattel? And again, in general, Gorgosaurus is probably one of the more popular species out there that Mattel could choose to make. And now we get this awkward looking version. So I'm definitely going to keep my fingers crossed that at some point in the future, after the Jurassic World Survival line has come and gone, that we get another Gorgosaurus that is more traditional as opposed to whatever this thing is. Now, if we already had a different Gorgosaurus in the past that was a more, you know, normal looking version, I wouldn't mind this weird hybrid looking thing as much, but because it is, you know, our first introduction to this species in the Mattel line, I don't know, I'm a little bit bothered by this version. But you can see again, it does kind of have the look of a Gorgosaurus in the head sculpt a little bit. You've got a brown for the body color here on the top of the head, a light like off-white here for the lower jaw. Unfortunately, that off-white doesn't extend down into the underside. It just kind of sticks here in the lower jaw, and that's it. It's a little bit awkward looking and kind of out of place, I think, just because, again, the transition is so abrupt. The least they could have done was taken a little bit of this and maybe transitioned it away in the throat like they've done in the past, but sadly they did not. We do have a yellow eye for the figure and a black pupil right there, which is nice to see. We also, of course, have the teeth on the inside of the mouth, which are given a yellowish sort of a tone. I don't really like this like either. Like, it just looks rough in here. I don't know. I mean, the tongue looks great. It's beautifully textured. It's very nicely painted with a pinkish tone. We have that pink for the upper side of the inside of the mouth, as well as the skin stretching over here. But even that skin stretching there doesn't have the type of detail we normally see from Mattel. It also doesn't really have the gloss coat on it. The gloss coat's really nicely applied to the inside of the mouth. But these teeth on the lower jaw obviously, you know, look really bad because normally you would see like the gums painted or something, but here the gums and the teeth are all the same color, and it just looks super, super bad if you ask me. So, not a big fan of the inside of the mouth on this one either. As you lead up here into the top of the head, you have some ridges that follow down along the spinal column, as well as some osteoderms following down along the side of the neck. The fine detail in the more armored top of the dinosaur is okay, but not really all that great. As you move down, that darker brown kind of runs along the back, and then you have a lighter brown for the primary body color down here. I do like the fact that these, you know, armored areas are this darker brown. I would have liked to have seen that the entire way down here. I just think it would have looked better and kind of meshed better with the figure. But as you can see, it ultimately doesn't much matter because the darker brown tone disappears, and then of course we are left with a large naked area of the figure. The skin texture looks fairly decent as you move down. Like, I could definitely see a dark wash creeping in and out of all of that skin texture and highlighting that pretty nicely. The scales look okay down here. In fact, this area is probably one of the nicest, if not the nicest area as a whole when it comes to the skin texture of this figure. As you move down into the arms are nice and short. We've got some decent skin texture there as well. You can see the fingers are sculpted nicely. The claws are very rounded as per usual, but they look okay, unfortunately unpainted. But as you move here through, you can see we do have a little arm articulation forward and back. Doesn't come out away from the body, just forward and back. But again, that brown disappearing so abruptly just looks so awkward. And we do have some of these larger ridges up here painted out, and painted out with a black tone or a very dark brown. Maybe it's a dark brown, I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell. But it is painted out up there, but again, then it just disappears and like you have nothing for this area. And it makes this whole area look so awkward because of it. As you move down into the legs, the sculpt of the legs does look really nice. The musculature is nicely displayed there. You can see the kneecap in the front of the leg. You've got a nice big bulging calf muscle here in the back of the leg. Of course, leg articulation is the standard stuff, forward and back. It's actually really smooth, works very nicely. As you move down, I also like this area where we transition to a brownish tone for the feet, and I like the way we transition to it, where we kind of have like the brown kind of leading up and just sort of breaking up and spotting up into the calf area. That's pretty nice. You do also have ankle swivels. Very, very stiff, but it's there. As you move down, you've got some scoots down the toes. You've got the claws sculpted out, which do feature a little bit of detail, and they are painted and do have a nice gloss coat, but the dew claw, of course, gets skipped. It looks like it has a gloss coat, though, which is so weird. But as you move back up into the tail, or if that's what you want to call it, of this dinosaur, it does have an action feature which very unrealistically spins the tail, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But because it has that action feature, the tail just does not stay. Like you can see as I just shake it a little bit, the tail just keeps swiveling around and around and around all the time. As you move out into the tail, though, we continue to have that sort of armored look to the back of the figure. You can also see a few of these spikes that are super random here on the side of the tail are painted with a brown, kind of almost the same sort of brown we have for the feet, but a little bit of a different shade. And then we have like this orangish tone that overtakes the tail as you lead out. So it almost has the look of being, you know, painted from head to tail, kind of, but like they really should have just kept this darker brown tone moving down. And if they really wanted to transition into the orangish tone, then they could have kept that dark brown the whole way through, but we're used to it, I think, at this point. You can see again that orange tone lead down here, and we do see a little bit of the lighter brown of the underside leading out into the tail. As you lead out, though, that kind of softer style skin texture does disappear, and then the entire tail is very armored as you lead out there. It does have a little bit of a curve to it. It's got all kinds of spikes and ridges and stuff leading out. Obviously, you can see we have swivel articulation, but you also have it right here, which I could very clearly see. And then as we turn the figure around, take a look at it from over here. Again, it looks pretty much the same considering it is in a neutral position. Mine has like a little chip of paint right there on one of those osteoderms. But as you lead down, there's also a button right here to activate some form of an action feature. And then we also have the arms, of course. You have the leg sculpted out very nicely over here as well, but it's just trailing a little bit more so than what we see on the leg on the opposing side, and then leading out into the tail. Pretty much the same thing as what we had seen on the first side, but curving in our direction now. So as far as the action features go, first of all, we'll try this button. Okay, so that obviously opens and snaps the jaw, but also, for some reason, lifts up these weird scoots here on the back of the dinosaur, which is like the weirdest action feature. I don't quite understand that one at all. But then we also, of course, have our drill tail, I guess. So you push it and it just kind of spins. Like, I could see kids for sure enjoying something like this if they don't care about their dinosaurs looking accurate, which most kids probably don't. But why does it just keep ending up upside down? Almost got it. Yeah, not so much. But, you know, kids would definitely have fun playing with that, so I can kind of, in a way, understand that. For the most part, Mattel usually seems to aim the Jurassic World figures in this type of line toward adults and kids, trying to please both. And this one looks like and feels like it was more so aimed strictly at kids because it is so strange and exaggerated. As far as a size goes, for a length, you are going to see the Gorgosaurus come in at about I don't know, because it fell over. Oh, actually, before we even do that, because I will forget, there's the Fax app code for you guys if you'd like to add that to your collection. But let's try that again. So if we don't touch the figure, because it does seem to have a little bit of a balancing issue, you're looking at about 13 3/4 inches, or around 35 centimeters. And then for a height, just shy, actually, no, I was going to say just shy of 6.5, but I'd say a little bit closer to 6.25, maybe a little bit over that, as far as inches go, or around 16.5 centimeters. You can very clearly see it stands, but if you bump it at all, it's going to go for a ride. It doesn't stand well. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day human being next to our Gorgosaurus, and you can see it's got some okay size to it. It does kind of feel like maybe it's a little bit smaller than your standard figure in this size range. Maybe it's just my mind playing tricks on me, I don't know, but you can see again, definitely has an okay size to it. Here we see our Gorgosaurus next to a standard Wild Roar size ranged figure with a baryonyx, so obviously the Gorgosaurus is a bit larger. But here it is next to the Bistaheverser from Mattel, which you can see again, it is definitely in the same similar size range as that figure, so maybe it's not too far off from what I'm used to with this, again, Gigantic Thrashers or Trackers or whatever you'd like to call it size range. But obviously Mattel's been a little bit strange with some of the designs of their figures for quite a while, as we can see with both of these, but I just feel like the Gorgosaurus might be one of the weirdest ones so far. And then one final comparison, and just in case anybody wants to see what an actual Gorgosaurus looks like, here is the Beasts of the Mesozoic version, which is pretty much perfection, next to this crazy Mattel version, and you can very clearly see that the Mattel version is a bit smaller and incredibly exaggerated when it comes to its design. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Survival Gigantic Thrashers Gorgosaurus is something. I don't know if this is one of those figures that's going to take time for me to really appreciate, or if I'm always going to feel so negative toward it, but I'm just not really a big fan of this one. Like, if it had the way it looks now and like a normal looking tail, maybe I could have been okay with it, although I still feel like the detail isn't quite up to what I'm used to when it comes to Mattel. But this figure is just like so strange. Like, the spinning action feature of the tail, I don't like. Kids will like it, but I, as an adult collector, am not a fan. I don't like the design of the tail. I don't like the fact that it's got all these weird spikes and stuff all over it. I think it looks really weird and really decreases the appeal of the figure. I am happy to see this species finally in the Mattel line, but I would have liked to have seen one a little less exaggerated than what we have here. I also don't really like the paintwork all that much because I think it looks okay, but the way that the brown ends, it just looks so out of place now as you lead out toward the tail. And again, I know Mattel does this all the time, but like, this one just seems like maybe it's one of the most sporadic as far as the way the paint looks and works and stuff. It's just so strange. The other action feature where the scoots kind of lift up is also a little bit strange as well, but the action features are questionable, we'll put it that way. The sculpt is not terrible, but not great when it comes to the fine detail. The overall design is pretty rough, but I am happy to see a Mattel theropod with lips, so there's that. But I don't know, this one's just a really big mixed bag. It also has pretty bad balance, at least mine does. It does not like to stay standing. So I don't know, I'm not really sure how I feel about this. It's definitely my least enjoyable figure so far for the Jurassic World Survival line, and I never thought I'd say that about Mattel making a Gorgosaurus, but I'm really not a big fan of this figure. It's okay, we'll just give it that. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where I purchased mine on Amazon.com. So check that link, grab it if you want it, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.